Hi, very good morning, afternoon or evening, all right, to everybody. Hope you guys are doing well, all right, in your HBL, okay, and adapting well to the recent announcement for the extension, okay. Anyway, this is Mr. Pang, okay, and this is today's lesson, right, or HBL lesson that you're looking at now is focused on helping you to better understand the hybrid question, or the new purpose hybrid question we're going to do, okay. And this is a good introduction for both the SS and history students, all right, to understanding how to attempt the purpose hybrid question for SPQ. Okay, so in today's lesson objective, there will be three things we're going to do. The first one is to understand the logic behind such a purpose hybrid question. The second one is to understand the method of answering such a question. And the third one is to apply our understanding right to a guided practice. Okay. So the purpose hybrid question, right, looks like this on the screen. So you could take 10 to 20 seconds just to read the question and get used to how it's phrased, as well as how it is slightly different, right, from previous other hybrid questions that you've been doing, right, like the proving ones. So the purpose hybrid question starts with, of course, requiring you to study sources C and D. And it reads like this. After reading source D, comma, why do you think source C was published? Explain your answer. The next step then in trying to answer such a question is for us to identify the skill sets required to answer such a question. Okay, so you have done this previously before when attempting other hybrid question types, and we're going to try to do that now. So how do we identify the skills required? Again, we tend to look at the question itself and we look for specific signposts, all right, to help us to identify the skills that we're going to need. So this being a hybrid question, there will be two skills, all right, okay? There will be two skills that essentially we're going to use basically to help us to better tackle this question. And looking for signposts in the question will help us to derive what these skills uh, actually are. Okay, so this is a good habit to have because you never know what type of new innovative questions can come out at your O or N level exams. And having this as a good way will prepare you, right, for any variation that might come. So firstly, you'll notice, of course, that in this particular question, there is a requirement to study two sources, right? C and D. And if you read the question itself, having read D, why do you think source C is published? So because of the fact that we are required to deal with two sources, the first skill set, all right, that definitely, right, you will be required to do or use is comparison, right? Or the fact that you will definitely have to compare basically sources C and D in some manner, right? Which we'll explain later. How about the second skill set? So to derive the second skill set, we will pay attention basically to a keyword in this particular question. Okay. And I'm going to give you guys about 5 to 10 seconds just to look at the question again. And can you spot a keyword that has appeared and surfaced before, right, when you first started SPQ? Good. All right. So the first keyword that's coming out, all right, okay, I think, or flashing out to you guys is the word why. And why is a type of question that you have seen before. So if you imagine me, all right, kind of breaking out this particular segment of the question out, okay, it is a purpose question, right? Why do you think source C was published? All right, okay, so the second skill set that we will be using, all right, is basically the skill set of answering a purpose question. And with that, we will apply the writing structure of STEMIC. So at this juncture here, okay, just take a moment, right, to kind of take all of this in. Okay, so two skill sets they are being used here: comparison followed by purpose. And when we talk about purpose or answering a purpose question, we tend to rely on the format that we've been teaching you in school, which is STEMIC. S for speaker, TA for target audience, M for message, I for impact on the targeted audience or the speaker, followed by C, which is the context. So with this in mind, we are going to apply basically this question to two sources that I'm going to show you, okay? And hopefully, right, it will make it clearer for you guys how to tackle such a question, okay? So again, take a moment to read the question. It is study sources C and D, okay? And after reading source C, after reading source D, why do you think source C is published? So we're going to take a look at two sources here on your screen, okay? One is a source from the Minister of Trade and Finance, Minister of Trade and Industry, Minister Chan Chun Sing, all right, made on 16th of March in the evening. And a second source, which is source D, is an article published in the today's paper, also published, I think, earlier on 16th of March, okay, where it highlights what happens to Singapore after Malaysia's announcement of a lockdown. So I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes right now, and you may pause the video, okay, and take 5 minutes right now to read these two sources first, so that you have a better grasp of what these two sources are implying, and the lesson then will be easier to comprehend. So this is a good moment for you to pause the video, right, and approach these two sources on your own for 5 minutes. So to answer this question, the first thing that we have to be very clear with is that source C is the source that we are focusing on, okay, to derive the intention and the motive behind it. So source C is the source that is fixated on the why, okay? If I go back to the question itself, study sources C and D, after reading D, why do you think source C was published? You will notice that the keyword why, okay, is associated or attached and linked basically to source C. So to repeat again, all right, okay, the word why, right, is attached to source C. So if you were to picture this for a moment, right, okay, imagine if I cancel out this particular front portion of the sentence or the question, then you have a very generic question of why do you think source C was published? So notice that the keyword why is attached to source C, right? So with that understanding, okay, it will help you to understand therefore that source C is important, all right, for us, okay, to be very clear what the intention and motive is. So in this particular example, source C, Minister Chan Chun Sing, actually talks about basically the lockdown of Malaysia, and he gives insights, all right, that Singaporeans may be concerned, but the government has already taken steps, all right, with major suppliers like NTUC, Sheng Siong, and Dairy Farm International to increase the stock of food and essential supplies over the last 2 months, indicating that the government has already anticipated the uh, the lockdown, right? And he goes on then to add on by showing us that the government has also basically built up on its inventory of food and essential supplies by adopting a multi-pronged approach to get food, all right, okay, and supplies from other places other than Malaysia, right? So we get it from China, Australia, Spain, okay, and he then concludes by saying that there is no need to panic, there is no need basically to be afraid, okay, and we can exercise responsible buying, okay. So having read this source then, if I were to apply basically STEMIC to answer the conventional question of why was this source published or why did the minister make such a speech, it would sound like this, right? I'll start off with the speaker first, right? So Minister Chan Chun Sing made this speech because the keyword he wanted to convince, action word, Singaporeans, which is your targeted audience, that the government is adequately supplied with food and essential services. And that is the message. We then proceed to provide evidence. This is evident in quote, and in addition to building our inventories, right, we have also in place a multi-pronged strategy to ensure we do not run out of supplies, followed by an explanation. We need to explain the evidence. So this implies that the government has already anticipated ahead and have taken the appropriate measures to ensure our nation is well supplied or well stocked. So you would have realized that at this juncture here, okay, I have done the S, the TA, and the M. And you'll notice that I deliberately, right, am leaving out the impact and the context. And the reason why I'm leaving out the impact and the context is not because we can't do that immediately, but because of the demand, all right, of this hybrid question. Because this hybrid question doesn't just want us to tackle with source C, it wants us to also tackle with source D. So this is the second part of the question, yes, after reading source D. So this is what source D actually does, right? With source C, we derive the speaker, target audience, and the message that's intended from source C. And we're going to use source D to help us to better derive the context and the impact. So I repeat, we're going to use source D to better derive the context by which source C is going to be published and the desired impact of source C, of the target audience. So this is going to make more sense, right, when I actually refer to source D now, okay? So a quick recap. Based on source C, we get an understanding that Minister Chan Chun Sing made this speech because he wanted to convince Singaporeans that the government is already taking action, okay? And implies that the government has been very proactive and that we are actually well stocked, okay? Then I go on to read, then I read source D, right? And source D tells me that prior to the minister's speech, okay, Malaysia actually announced a lockdown, all right, and Singaporeans immediately rushed to the supermarkets, all right, basically to stockpile, all right, on their essentials. So having read source D, what source D does is that it helps me to better derive and to better understand the context by which Minister Chan Chun Sing in source C would make his speech. So I repeat, source D helps me to better derive, okay, the context by which source C would make the speech. And when I understand the context, it would then of course make it easier for me to derive the intended impact, okay, that the speaker, Chan Chun Sing, wants to achieve on his targeted audience. Okay, so to show you the flow again, why are we talking about source D and what do we use source D for? We use source D, all right, K, to better help us to derive the context, right, by which Minister Chan Chun Sing in source C would be speaking. And by understanding the context now, we are then able to derive the desired impact that Minister Chan Chun Sing, okay, wants to achieve or wants to do on his targeted audience. So with this in mind, okay, how do I write it out? How would source D look like? Okay, so source D, therefore, again, from reading source D, it provides me with this context that Malaysia has recently announced a lockdown on 16 March, and the immediate reaction is that Singaporeans panicked, right, and they rushed to the supermarkets. This is the context created by source C, and this is the context by which source C would be published. All right, the context by which source C and Minister Chan Chun Sing will make this speech. And therefore, now that I understand the context and what Chan Chun Sing is saying in his speech, I am then able to now better derive basically the desired impact that our minister in source C wants to achieve. So the desired impact, therefore, based on the given context and based on what the minister is saying, is for Singaporeans basically to stop panic buying and to practice greater sensibility in this given COVID-19 situation. And maybe, just maybe, right, for Singaporeans to trust the government all right, that they are prepared, all right, for this current situation. Okay, so when I put them all together, all right, okay, you will notice that this is actually what we are trying to achieve. Okay, so when I put them all together, right, you will it will look like three sections. Okay, so paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3. So at this juncture, there's just a little caveat, right, that I'll put in. Okay, now depending on your teacher, some of them will split the answering technique of this question into 3 paragraphs, like what you see here. It can also all be squeezed into a singular massive paragraph. Okay, so it does not actually matter how you structure it in terms of your writing, as long as you fulfill all the requirements we're going to talk about. Okay, but for clarity's sake and simplicity for today, for the introductory lesson, I'm going to use 3 paragraphs or 3 sections, all right, in talking about how to answer this question. So recap again, I'm now talking about basically how you would write, okay, the specific response to this particular question. So again, we start off with paragraph 1, all right, and in paragraph 1, we deal with the first component of this question, which is why do you think source C was published, right? So we're dealing with source C first. And notice that we are only going to deal with basically S, TA, and M. So Minister Chan Chun Sing made this speech because he wanted to convince Singaporeans that the government is adequately supplied, blah, 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 followed by your evidence and explanation. So you're dealing with your S, your TA, and the M. Okay? And then I jump on to paragraph 2. And in paragraph 2, I'm going to focus on source D. So in this aspect here in paragraph 2 is when I'm applying basically the skill set of comparison in some manners. All right, okay? I'm basically going to talk about what source D is saying. Okay? So in essence, you can immediately go on to tell us what source D says. So in source D, it is stated, quote, that Singaporeans rush to supermarkets, all right, okay, during the lockdown. That's your evidence. And then you proceed to explain, all right, what this evidence means. Now, when you are explaining, you'll notice that when I say this means that many Singaporeans were concerned about the lockdown, would lead to a lack of supplies and therefore made their ways to the supermarket to stock up. And as a result, Singapore witnessed long queues across the nations as fear sparked the mass desire to buy supplies. What I'm doing here by explaining is I'm actually providing the context, okay, by which source C, okay, is making basically or being published, right? So take a moment now basically to just read what is here in this particular paragraph. So I repeat again, by explaining what source D is saying, okay, I am actually providing the context. Okay, so I'm actually right here providing the context by which source C is being published, and therefore, okay, the context is done. Which then leads on to the third section or the third paragraph. So hence, now I know the main message that source C is deriving and who is speaking to, and I've identified the context which source D helped me to pull out. I now am better and more confident to derive or to explain what the impact is. Hence, given this context, to allay the fears of Singaporeans, Minister Chan Chun Sing therefore made this speech so that Singaporeans would stop panic buying and to practice greater sensibility or calm to the situation, and also for Singaporeans to trust the government's preparedness for this situation. And this is the impact, right? The I. And therefore, by completing this third paragraph or this third section, stemming is complete. Okay, right? So in essence, the purpose component, right, of this question is dealt with. And I've also dealt with both sources. I dealt with source C and I dealt with source D. Okay, so allow me to clean this up for you guys. So if I were to clean everything up for you guys, all right, okay, so that you can basically read it as a whole again. So in answering this question then, all right, what is the process again that we are applying? Okay, so the first step, okay, is that I kind of see this question in two portions here. So I'll deal with the first portion here, which is why do you think source C was published? And I deal with that in paragraph 1. Okay, I deal with source C, right? In writing out the paragraph 1, right, I basically apply STAM first, right? So give speaker, target audience, M. So you just do your conventional stemming, but you kind of just pause, all right, at M. So this is the key difference between this hybrid question and your conventional purpose question. Okay, you make a pause after your M because you want to then bring in source D, right? And you bring in source D first, all right, to establish basically what the context is. Okay, and then following which, after you derive what the context is, you then move on to complete to tell us what the impact is. Okay, so together, this will then allow you to fulfill the requirements of this question. Okay, you have explained why you think source D was published, and you've also shown how source D helps you to better derive, all right, the intended motive or the desired impact that the speaker wants to achieve in source C. Okay, so I hope that this introductory lesson has made it clearer for you guys. In essence, in summary, this hybrid question, okay, just to go back here again, this hybrid question, or what we call the purpose hybrid question, of after reading source D, why do you think source D was published, falls on the basis of kind of this uh, diagram, all right, or Venn diagram here. You are basically applying two skill sets, okay, mostly of purpose, all right, which comes together with stemming, and a slight comparison because you're dealing with another source. And I think the key juncture, right, or the key thing that you guys are realizing is that it kind of flows in terms of stemming, but we have a slight pause here, all right, okay, by leaving out impact and context to the secondary source, which is source D in this particular question. Okay. So in summary, I hope this has helped you to better understand basically the way or the logic behind this new hybrid purpose question and how to do it and how to apply it. Okay, if any juncture you are slightly lost, it's good basically to rewind, pause at certain parts of the video, and if there are further queries and further concepts or parts that you are lost or you're not very clear with, do seek out your SS or your history teacher. Okay, they will be better suited to clarify with you on some of the details because this video is not exhaustive or not conclusive, right, in every aspect. Okay, so I hope this has been helpful and I thank you for paying attention. Thank you.